everybody, I am here today with my second project for Cut to You. This is the paper pad I'm going to be using today. It is Dulce by Prima, and this is my photo. So off camera, I went ahead and backed these beautiful tassels, and I added some glossy accents to them to make them shimmery and shiny and beautiful. So I cut them. I also cut this adorable title, and I also added some glossy accents to the U portion of the title. So I cut 2 sets of the tassels to give me 4 tassels, and then I have my beautiful cut file title there. I'm going to grab a sheet of Basil Coconut Swirl cardstock. I'm going to grab my Distress Oxide in Tattered Rose, and that is going to be the extent of my supplies. I think the only other thing I'm going to pull in is some hemp cord. And yep, we're just going to use that 6x6 paper pad to create this whole layout, and I use the 6x6 paper pad to back my tassels as well. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get everything organized. I want to know where I'm going to put the different elements for my layout. I'm going to play with locations for my title, and in the end I'm going to decide to put my title below my photo, just about like that. The photo is of my niece from about a year ago when they went on vacation. I have a couple of photos that my sister took of my nephews and my nieces on the boardwalk that I just love. So you'll probably be seeing them here and there. I'm deciding where I want to put my tassels. I want the tassels to look like they're kind of just hanging from the top of the page. And so my plan now is to go ahead and I add just a little bit of color behind these tassels. So I don't want to add a lot of color, but I also want just a bit of shading behind each of the locations of these tassels. I'm getting ahead of myself though. First, I want to use some of my 6x6 offcut papers from backing the tassels to back my photo. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to go ahead and do some messy layers behind my photo. I'm even including the branding strips from these 6x6 papers because they have nice patterns on them, and I can cover up that little hole, put the hole behind my photo, and we're good to go. So I'm just going to get some nice cuts here to get my messy layers behind my photo, I guess. And now I'm going to start putting down just a little bit of shading behind my tassels. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my Picket Fence Life Changing brushes, and I'm taking my Tattered Rose Distress Oxide ink. I'm lifting up the section of the area where I want to put each of the tassels, adding a little bit of ink to that section, then gluing or tape runnering, adhering the tassels right to my background paper. And then what I'm doing is I'm leaving that little loop that's at the top of the tassel, and I'm going to add and string some hemp through it. So this is just some hemp kind of twine or thread. It's just a really neutral color. I thought about using like a twine that was 2 colors, but I didn't want that contrast as much, but I liked kind of the creamy look of the hemp. So I'm going to do that for each one of these tassels. Just add a little of the shading behind where the tassel will be. Put the tassel down, loop that thread or twine trim through the top of the tassel. I'm going to add some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to hold it in place, and I'm going to string it all the way up to the top of the page and let it hang off the edge. And then the last thing I'm going to do at the end, when all 4 of the tassels are adhered, is to trim off that excess at the top. And as you're going to be able to see here, once I have all 4 of those tassels adhered, there's not a lot of room really for a ton of embellishment or a ton of extra things, and I really didn't want anything. I loved the simplicity of this layout. I loved how crisp it was. I do tend to like more color. I'm not a minimalist scrapper. Let's just call a spade a spade. I tend to lean more towards the more side of the spectrum. But adding the color behind the tassels and adding that little bit of texture with the trim really helped to give it some dimension. I'm also going to add some of this Tattered Rose Distress Oxide ink to the top of my title and to the bottom of my title, just to give it a little bit of contrast or a little bit of pop off of the stark white background paper. And I'm going to adhere that down then. For embellishments, I'm going to keep this super simple. So I'm just going to use some of the, sorry about that. Sorry, my head's in the camera. I'm just going to use the cut apart sheets that are in this 6x6 paper pad. I'm going to cut apart a couple of borders and a couple of the little cards that have some really cute images on them. And I'm just going to layer them together into about 3 different areas of my layout. I felt like I needed something at the top of my photo. I needed something in this little corner underneath my title. And then I'm going to add just some border pieces to the right. But I'm going to keep the embellishing, again, very kind of simple. And I want to accent the cut files, accent my photo, accent the title, and not really overwhelm the layout. So these were the pieces that I came up with from the cut apart sheets, and now I'm just adding some of the pieces up in foam squares. I'm going to kind of flick through the die cuts, and I'm going to end up using a puffy sticker. And then you can see here how I found that die cut of the horse. Oh, that horse just was perfect. It was facing the right direction. It fit so well right there and kind of pulled my title into the embellishment cluster, and I love it. Love that horse. I think I'm super excited that I was able to find it and find a place for it, because I'm getting down to the last of this collection that I have in my stash, and there are some pieces like these horses that I just love and want to use. So I'm just going to flick through all these different elements in the collection, see what I have, see what I think I want to add. I just need a little something, right? And I'm going to go with the puffy stickers. I thought that those worked really well. I'm going to go ahead now and pop up that horse so that he will work on my title. And I have to glue my title down too, apparently. I also totally forgot to mention that I am playing along with the CSI Inspiration Challenges. If you've never seen them before, they're really lovely challenges. At the beginning of this, you saw like the little guest detective image and also the mood board or the case that I'm solving, which as soon as I saw the case that I was solving, I went, you know what, we're going with exactly what's in that because I just had the perfect photo for this and the perfect perfect collection, perfect photos. It just worked. So I knew exactly what I was doing as soon as I saw that. You can check out all of the gorgeous inspiration pieces that you can play with at the CSI blog, which I will leave a link to down below. And just getting everything, all the pieces that I want on my layout, the things I want to be completely trimmed up. And there's my fuzzy head again, where you can clearly see that my hair needs colored again. Oh, well. Anyway, this is where we're going to leave this one. Here are all of your close-ups, and I will link these beautiful cut files down below as well. If you play along over at the CSI blog, you have a chance to win some free cut files because Cut To You is sponsoring that blog for the entire year. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.